The biggest questions in this campaign is who our country belongs to. Does it belong to the big corporations like ITT and the oil interests who make large secret contributions and expect favors in return? To leaders of the Pentagon who insist that we pay more and more to big defense contractors whether we like it or not? Or does it belong to you and me?
Hi, my name's Nell Newman, and my mama says Obama.
Thank you, Nell. I so appreciate this. And I just wanted to start about your company and raising awareness in terms of the next step for organics.
I think the next step for organics really is to just continually educate the public. It has become much more mainstream at this point, but I think we really do need to make sure that people are talking behind us. Hi, my name's Nell Newman, and I want to say my mama says Obama.
Thank you, Nell. And I want to talk about your incredible company, Newman's Own Organics, second generation.
Yes.
And the awareness of organics that's growing every day. Where do you think we are? I mean, it's no longer considered fringe.
No, I think we've really moved on to the mainstream. You know, we've had 20%, we've had double-digit growth for over 20 years now. So I think it's really gone beyond the fringe, the little wrinkled apples in the health food store, to the point where there really isn't anything you can't find organic if you look, especially out here in California. So it's definitely not a fringe element anymore. It's mainstream.
And you also have the incredible farmers markets, and that's helping the growth of organics. Is that where people are going other than the grocery store?
Well, I think that really represents the consumer becoming more educated about where their food comes from, what goes into their food. I mean, in the past decade, we've seen a doubling of farmers markets in the United States.
Wow.
So I think that's really because the consumer has a little better idea of where their food's grown, or how their food is grown, and what are the food miles, and what's the carbon footprint of your food. So,
and there's the connection right there to the global warming. The carbon footprint, the miles you mentioned.
Yes, there's actually a lot of information coming out recently about one of the beneficial aspects of organic agriculture is it literally takes carbon dioxide out of the air, which is a greenhouse gas, and traps it in the soil. If we converted all of our farmland to organic agriculture, we would reduce our carbon emissions by about 25%. A study was just done in 2007 that showed that the artificial inputs of nitrogen really end up leading to a deficit situation where the soil gets so tired it can't absorb water, it doesn't hold the nitrogen, and it pretty much kills everything in the soil, and that they really cannot produce crops without continually adding more nitrogen. So
wow.
I think it's important to really constantly educate yourself about
Yes.
why is organic important.
And what the connection with global warming is.
It's a huge part of looking at the solution for global warming.
Right. And now we have a First Lady with an organic garden. How pleased were you then?
I was amazed. I've known several people that had been in communication with her about starting the organic garden. Alice Waters at Chez Panisse, Michelle Nishaw, the chef who I think you're about to meet with soon.
Yes.
And what a great way to educate the public about a healthy diet. Why just talk about it? And she's done a great job about talking about it, but why not show everybody?
Exactly.
So that organic that garden is a beautiful example of it's an educational tool for students.
Right.
It supplies local food banks. It feeds the White House, and it just brings all of this attention to the issue.
Right, and it's about feeding our children. And now she has this initiative, the Let's Move, to get the kids healthy and moving and eating well. Thanks to Newman's Own Organic, you can give your kids those special treats that we grew up on, the nostalgia food that a lot of your food is based on. So how is it possible to narrow the cost gap between organics and non-organic food for some people who are having a hard time.
I think the only way to narrow the cost gap is to grow it yourself, because really, organic is closer to the true cost of food. You know, when we go to the
Right.
grocery store and we buy that whatever conventional product, you're paying an artificially low price because
Right.
that product was produced with farm subsidies. If it was in the form of corn, soy, there's so many farm subsidies that go into the production of most conventional products that conventional doesn't represent the true cost of food. Organic does. Organic is more expensive. It's labor intensive. Doesn't have farm subsidies. So I can't see the price coming down that much,
So back-
unless it really gets some form of subsidies.
And you look back to the Great Depression. I mean, people lived off their land.
Yes.
If they had the land, they lived off the land.
Yes.
So people didn't go hungry. And yet there are people in those communities in the Midwest where there's farming around them, but they can't get anything fresh to eat.
No, it's very.
And that's a very sad thing. And they end up eating food that then causes the diabetes and the health issues.
Most farmers, you know, in the 40s, 50s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, you know, always grew for themselves. In addition to whatever commodity they sold. So that has certainly changed. And it's amazing what you can grow in a really small plot.
And wasn't that the American dream at that point?
I don't know. It may
I mean,
have been.
just to have a piece of land and
to be self-sufficient.
self-sufficient and independent. I think that's the American spirit, absolutely.
I mean, I think the American dream is 3 square organic meals a day for everybody. And that
Yeah.
everybody has access to food.
Well, now we're very much on the threshold of this American dream, I feel. And Obama's taken on one thing at a time. You know, your efforts to give back to the community by supporting the charities is definitely a good way to run a business. It's not at odds with good business.
No, it's not, and I think a lot of companies have either followed in the footsteps. I don't know if Patagonia was before or after Newman's Own, but Patagonia does a similar. They do a 1% for the planet program themselves. They've also it's also a partnership program that other companies can sign up with, and they have several hundred members at this point.
Wow.
And I know that the founder Yvon Chouinard is also extremely philanthropic. So there have been I consider them to be one of the leaders, and there have been other companies that have continued in that path. Not a lot, but it's just getting the point. Cliff Bar is another one, very philanthropic. Basically, you know, if you have a you know, your responsibility is really to your employees and your community to provide a good product, whatever it is, to support your employees, to support your community. And if you are successful enough that you can give back, then that's the point that you can afford to do that, and that's when that
And that's
makes
the
sense.
original inspiration for what you're doing. It came
Absolutely.
out of your work in terms of charity and finding a place.
Well, basically,
to-
I ran a small nonprofit, and I kept looking
Yeah.
at what my dad was doing and thinking, that looks like a great way to raise money. It looks like a lot easier to raise money than what I was doing as a development director. So that was how I got the idea for starting
And
Newman's Own
combining
Organics.
your two